So when I was a little girl, I was growing up in Kensington. That's where I spent most of my childhood. And I mainly attended my grandfather's church. And in those days, I thought it was exciting as a kid because I come from a very Pentecostal background. So, it's very spiritual. Worship is like so hype and everything. And that was the church experience that I was really used to. So throughout my life, academics was really important. I remember whenever my family and we were just going through something really hard, my mom would say something like, I know that we're going through this right now, but how you can help me is by focusing on your grades. And obviously, like, go to God in prayer if you're going through anything, and you can come to me. But if you just focus on getting good grades, that's one less thing for me to worry about. Even if I am going through XYZ, at least you're doing well in school, so I don't have to worry about that. Over time, I just had this false sense of security in my own willpower. And even though this is like hard to admit, I felt like I didn't need anyone else, but then most of all, I didn't need God. And so even when I started attending church again a couple of years ago, and I was getting to know community, it was still hard for me to actually open up to people. Because if I opened up to people about my struggle, then I needed to admit that I needed help. And I needed that help because I can't do this on my own. I have to admit that I actually don't have that control that I thought I had. All my life, I'm like, I was able to achieve this and this and this. But in reality, it was God giving me that grace to help me get through all of that. It wasn't just me and my own willpower. It was God blessing me with, a family that instilled, good moral ethics in me. And it was also just Him helping me to build my resilience. But, ironically, the most comforting thing to me about the gospel is that I'm so much worse than what I thought. I can call myself a perfectionist. I can call myself sinful and just all of the things, but there's just so much more than that. There's so many layers of just inherent sin that I possess that I don't even want to admit. And even if people point it out at me, I don't want to accept that, right? I think all of us have a little bit of that within us. We just want to be our own gods. But the beautiful thing about the gospel is that it's not about how much I do or how much I can get done, because what's already done is done. Christ did the work at the cross. So I can make mistakes and I can stumble and fall and, not be who I want to be, but I'm already complete through Christ. He's done the work for me, and He's continually changing me, and sanctifying me. So even though I'm gonna live the rest of my life in sin, and, at times I'm gonna feel like I'm taking one step forward and 10 steps back, God's got me, and He's not only going to use His word and His scriptures that, I try to memorize because that's the perfectionist that I am, but He's going to use other people and circumstances and situations to challenge that in me, and I'm definitely so much more sinful than I could admit, but that just means that I'm just so much more loved than I had realized. And I don't need to rely on my own self-worth and my love for myself that I had a lot of. But, God is more than enough for me. He's definitely, he definitely brought me to the end of myself, which I didn't know that I needed. It's not something that I wanted, but it helped me to see that, you know, he's at the center of my story.